Welcome. And in today's video, I'm actually going to talk about overcoming parenting guilt. And more specifically, in this video, I'm going to give you suggested strategies, like a four-step process of, what you can do to detach yourself from that parenting guilt. So I'm Usha Chudasama, and I'm the author of this book, and I'm a family wellbeing and mental health expert. I coach parents to learn the art and science of parenting, and how they can heal their own inner child through that experience of parenthood and adulthood, so that they can be more conscious to raise children who are confident, resilient, independent, and can fulfill their potential. So that is my work. Now, last week I wrote a blog, and it was entitled "Parents, Are You Feeling Guilty?" or something like that. I'll put a link in the blog to remind you. I also did a video last week, so I'll put a link to that as well. The whole idea of this video is to talk about the parenting guilt, but let's face it, because everyone feels guilty about something, don't they? I mean, I know that as a young mum I did, and as a new parent, you kind of feel judged a lot by other people's opinions and what they think you should do. I put that in inverted commas because the word should is a very, very dangerous word. um, it actually leads to very negative thinking styles, and if you get stuck on that, then the guilt could actually take you down to a place of feeling shame as well. Maybe I'll do another video on that another day, but just for today, I wanted to say that people have all sorts of opinions and judgments. They say, look, when I was younger, so you should be breastfeeding, you should buy this product, or you should use these nappies because they're better, or um, you should look after that child of yours. Going into the supermarket and opening all the biscuits and crushing them on the floor. You should learn how to manage that behavior. So whatever happens, you know the young parent, like I was, maybe you're relating to this, feels so guilty, and takes it upon themselves to to correct that behavior, but doesn't always know how to. Now sometimes that guilt, if you had a strong self-esteem and somebody tried to make you feel guilty, that guilt could actually go towards, it would actually help you to make some changes. So for example, if somebody's guilt tripping you and saying that you don't know how to communicate, or there's no communication between you and your child, then you could go out and do something about it. Go and find out, go and ask somebody, go and do a course on it, you know explore it. But if that guilt then turns to shame, which is, where you feel like you have no control, there's nobody there to support you, and you don't know how to do it, you know then that could be something that I could explore as a therapist. Now, the thing is that the steps I want to give you is like a four steps to reframe your mindset, to overcoming that feeling of guilt. So, first of all, I want you to just take a deep breath. When somebody says something that makes you feel a little bit, just take a deep breath and remember that, first of all, parenting, let's just go back to the real basics. So, number one, historically, the evolution of parenting only started to grow in the 1960s and 70s. So, remember that. Collectively, we are all really beginners trying to heal our own childhood struggles while creating a new model for conscious parenting. So, when our own parents made us feel guilty, right, it was a guise for love, it was a disguise for love. So, what you've got to do is forgive your mistakes and learn from them. Now, I remember that when I was younger, my mum would make me feel guilty about maybe not doing the housework in a certain way. Oh, you didn't do that properly. But that was her way of saying to me, have another go and see if you can improve on that. And that's how it was done. So I now don't take it personally. I used to, and I felt really bad about it. I would go back and clean that place up. Um, but I love cleaning now. I really, really do. Actually, it makes me feel. It makes me feel good. It does make me feel good. Anyway, second thing. So, so number one is remember that historically we are all trying to do our best, okay? And we have all got wounds from our own childhood that we need to look at and explore and overcome those struggles. Number two, and something to be aware of is that, you know, if you did have a painful childhood, you could be falling into the trap of making it all better for your children, so that your children don't have to suffer. So be kind to yourself and your past. Okay. Number three is that parenting doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect. I know that you know it, and this could be one of those traps that you know, if you've done something well, you know, I know my parents would say, "Oh, that's perfect." You know, and I know that I've said it in the past. I try not to do that so much now. I'm very, very aware of it. Oh, that's lovely. That's perfect. But then you think, oh, what is that's perfect in my opinion. Um, so this parenting doesn't have to be perfect. As long as you love your children and you want to do the best for them, then you're a good enough mum already. Okay, so remember, our children are learning from how we are modeling our behaviors. They learn from our mistakes, and when we make a mistake and we open up and we, you know, fix it with them, you know, that opens up the lines of communication. And I suppose we've got to also remember that actually sometimes our children do need challenges to function, as in, you know, so that they can overcome those challenges themselves and function as independent, healthy adults. So, and the fourth thing to remember is have a balance of empathy and healthy boundaries. Boundaries are really important when it comes to guilt. So, opening, like I mentioned, opening lines of communication in your family. And the thing to remember is, this is the big thing to remember, is that guilt will only work if you allow it to affect you. So if somebody picked up a piece of mud, right, and they threw it at you, you have the choice to move out the way. You don't have to stand there and let it hit you. You can actually move out the way. That's the same with guilt. Don't let it land. Don't let it land on you. Because the thing is, guilt isn't always about you. Well, it's never about you. It's always about the other person. Now, even if they've done it intentionally or accidentally, okay? So having open conversations with them about what you are experiencing and talking about what you're experiencing and finding a way forward is a way for it to not land on you. Okay, so here's the four things that you can do. Well, those are four things to kind of be aware of, and here are some ways of overcoming in a way that it doesn't land on you. Okay, so first thing, I think I may have already said this one, but as soon as you realize that you're beginning to feel guilty, just stop and breathe. Just that small breath gives you time for pause, and it allows your brain to re engage and to be able to think. Okay, I know it's like a quick breath, but actually it really works when you do this consistently. So stop, breathe, and tell yourself, oh, I'm beginning to feel that uncomfortable, guilty feeling again. Here, by telling yourself that, so that self-talk, what you're doing is you're giving yourself emotional distance. Okay, and then think about in that small space of time, you can actually think about what is being implied, what is being inferred, what is not being said. So don't tiptoe around what is being left unsaid, because guilt is about looking inward, so you don't let that guilt land on you. Bring your attention out of you and into the situation. Now, I know with me that when I feel guilty, or when I've felt guilty in the past, it's like my world just caves inward. It's almost like my eyeballs are turned inward, and all I'm doing is focusing on what's going on for me in my body. But in that moment, and after you've taken a breath and you've said, and you've acknowledged yourself, and you've said, oh, I feel that guilty feeling, bring your eyeballs out so that you're facing outward. Okay, and bring your attention out of you and into the situation. That will help you to take a responsibility. It will help you to focus on the other person. It also help you to focus on the bigger picture. Okay, so in that moment you can address it, or you can redirect it and talk about the real issue rather than skirting around. You know, like how people say, oh, I can't do that because it feels like I'm walking on eggshells. That's because you're allowing that guilt to hit you, or the other feelings to hit you. So keep it real. And you could say something. I can see that you have something important you want to tell me. So, for example, there was one mum that talked about the guilt that she was feeling when she was cooking. So here she is with 4 different burners going. She's got pots and pans everywhere, and her daughter comes in and says, Mama, I'd like to talk to you about something. And she felt guilty about saying, well, I'll talk to you later. And yeah, no, not now, later. And then she felt guilty because afterwards, when she did ask her daughter, you know, the daughter said, oh, no, don't worry about it. And that made her feel guilty. So, um, in another thing that she could do is say, I can see that you have something important you want to tell me, but I'm busy cooking right now. So would it be okay to talk about it later so you have my full attention? And I'm really interested in what you have to say. So would you like to do it now when I'm really busy, or shall we do it later when I have more time and attention to give you? What you find most of the time is your child will say, okay, I'd like more time with you, because all kids love more time with their parents. Okay, so remember, guilt is something about the way the relationship is going that you or they didn't expect. Okay, in that scenario. So the last thing is that if your child tries to send you on a guilt trip when you've already stated your boundaries and said no, because they will definitely do that. When you set boundaries, they suddenly find a way of guilt tripping you. But when you've already set your boundaries, it's because they want to start to gain control again. Okay, they'll make you feel wrong for standing up for yourself. So I want you to be aware that they might come across, they might use some coercive remarks and give you something nice, make you feel nice so that you give in to their way of thinking. Um, and what they're doing there is kind of underhand manipulative behavior, which they may have seen from somewhere else, by the way, and they're just using it to their advantage. Remember, I said that we as parents are modeling that behavior, so be aware of that. Okay, and this actually then brings us back to number one. So that, because the cycle will continue. So remember, we are all doing the best we can. And I hope that those 4 steps, well, 4 pieces of information to be aware of, and 4 suggested steps of how to detach yourself from that guilt and don't let it hit you, um, has helped you in some way. If it has, please can you comment below and let me know how it's helped you, or if you've got any other stories of, you know, your specific example of feeling guilty, let me know in the comments and I will definitely address it. Okay, so remember though that, you know, we are all doing the best we can. You are doing the best you can. You are a good enough mum if you're trying your best, and if you care about your kids, definitely you're already about being a good mum. So remember that. I suppose the finishing is to always focus on compassion and kindness and open lines of communication, because mistakes do happen. just be okay about them, and be open to correct them with a problem solving process. And what will happen is that your relationship will become intact and strong, and your child will trust you and love you. Honestly, you will see big, huge changes. Okay, so I hope that was helpful in helping to overcome parent guilt. And if you have any comments or questions, then please do write them in the comments below, and I'll come back to you. Thank you. Bye. Bye for now.